Okay, so we're back, and this is part three of a four-part chapter within this deep dive. So this is the Quadrafuzz now. So we're going to look at Quadrafuzz. Chapter one we looked at sampler track. Chapter two we looked at frequency EQ2, and now we're looking at Quadrafuzz. This plugin has been in Cubase for the longest time. I absolutely love this plugin. So we're going to show you what it's capable of. It's tucked away within Cubase, but it's really powerful. It sounds great, and it's got many options that you can use it within. It can be, I mean, it's not set for any type of thing. It's not like a bass plugin. It's not like a drums plugin. It's not like a mastering plugin. But you can use them in them realms. And many more other options you can use them within as well. Any other tracks or instruments or capabilities that it has. It can be used for absolutely anything. So let's have a look. Here we go. Quadrafuzz. Let's open up the module so we can get a bit more of a look at it. This is what it looks like. I have it on the bass here, so we're going to show you on the bass. I'm going to solo the bass. We had a look at the bass in one of the earlier chapters, and it's just a bass note. There you go, that one. So let's close it down a bit there, so we're not waiting as much. Right, so first things first, let's have a look left to right, and then we'll delve into each option and what it can do for you. Of course, SB single band. I would never use single band mode. I don't know how you'd find it valuable because you can have single band mode off and then close the bands at will anyway. So, I mean, if you really wanted to concentrate a band and attack that band, then of course, yeah, it'd be good for that. But I think with it being so complex and so deep, this plugin, I think having it open is fine because then you might later on choose to have other bands on. You might go, okay, give me some more low mid, and then control it. So, but the option's there. I love the scene mode. So the scene mode means I can actually save different variations and scene sets of within this plugin. So, I mean, it's 8. So we can actually have 8 types of. If I have a rock beat, for instance, I might want to have a grungier beat. I might want to have a more lighter beat, or a guitar, for instance. I might want to have a more angry guitar with the cabs. Or I might want to have a lighter one. I might want to have a warm, fatter one, and then I can actually just choose within this one plugin the different sets of them and copy between them as well. So really, really powerful. On this sub bass, because it's a sub bass, you can see here I'm not using any of this region. So across the 2020 spectrum, this is classed as a multi-band distortion effects unit. It's brilliant plugin. It's brilliant. And myself and Dom, you might see our videos, we use this a lot. This is a great plugin. So because we're not using this region, I can turn these off. And that's great as well. You can actually turn off modules at will. We can solo modules at will. And we can mute different modules at will. So not only do we get to control each individual band across the 2020 spectrum, we can actually choose to impart also different emulations within them bands. So the power and complexity is enormous on this plugin. It really, really, really is. And the most important knob for me out of all these feature within this plugin is this knob, the mix knob. So we actually have a parallel processing button really built within the plugin, so we don't have to create an effects send, although we can choose to if we want to. It's really easy in Cubase, but we can actually choose to have like your New York compression type, imparting wet with the dry, that type of thing going on within this plugin, as well as being able to control each individual node across the 2020 spectrum. So huge amounts of power, huge. And then obviously, of course, we have the scenes. So it's great to be able to actually drive it, which we'll show you in a minute, and then just impart some of that wetness and keeping the actual raw sound as well. So you get the best of both worlds within the one button, within the one plugin. So on this sub, because I'm not using any of that, and you can see I'm not using that, I can turn them modules off. Now I have a tube emulation, and I've driven that quite a bit. And within that realm underneath it, you get to choose the different types of tubes. And these give you the nice sort of fatness and bottom end. Let's zoom in a bit more so you get an idea. Yep. And you can see it there really coming through. So if I drive it more, let's drive it more. And you see the sub really, really coming through. You can see the sub really poking through, and you can feel it. You can see it. And if you have good headphones or good neighbors, and you crank it up, or good monitors, obviously, with a sub, then you can really hear that. It's great. I find that 2 tube modes works really well. 3 adds a bit more distortion and grit, which is also quite good. Great for breaks and drum and bass type stuff. But tubes, 2 tubes, I find here and here is a happy medium between the both of them, not only by look but actually by sound. We also have tape mode, so I can turn tape mode on. And it's quite subtle, and that's what it's supposed to be. Tape's supposed to be just warming and saturating the sound. This is why this also works well on a master bus, because you might want to make some cold material a bit warmer. So say something was a bit too clinical, a bit too digital sounding, you could just put this on a master bus, leave the rest of the other modes unaffected, and even turn them off if you choose to, and just slightly drive up the tape in that low end region. So you can actually impart some warm harmonics and fatness just in the low end and leave the rest intact. So it's great for adding sort of like an analog kind of fatness to sounds, because a lot of people struggle with the low end. Because say for instance soft synths, which are really powerful, really great, the sine waves that come out and they sound really popping and fat, but they might be a bit too digital, a bit too cold sounding. This is perfect. You turn on the tape mode, turn the drive, you get that subtle kind of warmness and harmonics and fatness within that, and it works really, really well. Distortion does what it says on the tin. You can just drive it, which obviously is where you go with that is up to taste, really. Feedback mode is how much you're going to fold it back into to distort it. That's quite good. Obviously, it's way too much. Amp is amp cap, so you actually get to. This is why I'm saying it's great for guitars, and stuff like that, and breaks as well. We're going to show it on a break beat in a minute. It's giving that amp sound, the amp sim sound, so you can choose what type of cab, what kind of crunch you want. That's quite good actually, or which amp lead, and you can choose how much it's going to be imparting by and when the gate's going to kick in when it starts. So it's really powerful. DEC, it can only mean decimation. It can only mean decimation. So, of course, I can go down the bits again and the modes. S and H is how much it's going to do it by. Oh, I like that. I really like that. I might just save that right now because it's all just live and non-scripted. I'm going to call it Sappo bass. Harmonic. Okay, so that's really good. So that's a cool trick within drum bass, like the sub basses, having them been able to hear them as well as feel them. That's a perfect one, and I've never done that one before by turning up the decimation within the low end. I usually do in the top end of like breaks and stuff. So there's something new as well. So it's really powerful. And of course, the different modes. You have different modes of decimation. Really good one again. So I kind of like these two. I kind of like mode 2 and I like mode 3. So that's really cool. That's like, really adding nice harmonics and fatness to a sound, but with a sort of angry sort of grit to it as well, a sort of decimation. So this is where the mix knob becomes really, really invaluable because I can just dial it down again. So although that was a bit too much, I kind of like the flavour that it had, and I want to impart a bit more of that, but keep the dry sound as well. Best of both worlds is the mix knob. Let's go down a bit more. Perfect. So now you can see the fatness, but with that sort of ringing harmonics. For modern dance music, it's valuable. That really is, because we all have access to the soft synths, and a sine wave is a sine wave, no matter what it is, whether you layer it or not. It's still a sine wave, and there's still a certain amount of sound and fatness that you get out of that. So where do you go with that? How do you make one more your own, more flavors? How do you get one to fit more in a mix and be a more signature you, and just be more appealing and more interesting? That's what Quadrafuzz is great for. So although you can do plugins within a lot of these plugins, you can have effects and stuff like that. I think this multiband distortion effects unit within Cubase is amazing because it does more than one plugin, if you know what I mean. There's like technically 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 5 plugins within the one plugin across the 2020 spectrum. Really, really powerful. And to top it all off, there's actually a delay built into here as well. So you have a delay band, so you can actually do like feedback, distorted delays. If I open that button, now we get feedback. You hear that ringing? So we can get to do like decimated dubsteppy, even kind of, decimated kind of delays, like ringing kind of tape delays, like reggae and dub, those sort of ringing that carry on, those long delays that sort of feedback over time and distort over time. This is what we can do with it within Quadrafuzz. Wow, amazing plugin. Underneath these nodes, we have options for width as well, so we can actually make things more narrow. Obviously, we're working in the low end. We want to keep it kind of mono-ish, so keeping things tidy, and we can do that by just changing the width. Or we can pan things. If we're doing the feedback delay, we can actually choose to pan things over left or right. There's even a mix knob within that node as well. With each node has a mix knob. We can sync the sound with its being in delay, and then we can actually choose to use output gain as well. So it really is a killer plugin. Now let's look at it in a beat capacity. I might keep that bass because I really like that. Let's look at it in a beat capacity. So this break here, which is the main break out of the track. Okay, that'll do. So Quadrafuzz 2 here. Now, this is what I like to do. I like to work out what do we need to do to this break. How do I want it to get it fat? How do I want it to sound? How far can I push it? And then dial it all back. And that's what the mix knob's for, to dial it all back. So tape, there's some bottom in there, but the sub's doing the main thing that we shown before. So I might not really need that there. But the low mid, I can definitely drive that. So I'm going to turn that up to a tube. I'm going to go 2-tube mode. In the high mid, I'm going to distort the high mid a bit. Let's really drive that to get that kind of grittiness out of the snares that are cutting through. And then the tops, this is what I always like to do, is decimate the tops a bit. Let's get them driving and max it all out. Let's max it all out. Let's delay the tops. So that's, obviously you can get carried away and watch your head's nodding, and before you know it, it's like it's gone too far. But that's great because of the mix knob. So now I've kind of got that kind of, it's vibing. And then when I play the overall the overall track within context of the rest of the track, this beat in context of the rest of the track, then you're like, oh yeah, I've gone too far. But that's great because then you can mix it to taste. So now with the mix knob all the way at 0, it's dry. And now I can start imparting the flavor. With and without. So you get the idea. It's really powerful. I absolutely love this plugin. So I hope you learnt more about that one in this deep dive in chapter 3. Quadrafuzz 2, trust me, it can be used for absolutely anything, any material, any instrument within Cubase 12. And I think it's in Artist as well, so it's not in the Elements. So it's in Cubase Artist and it's in Cubase Pro. If you're looking for it and you can't find it, it's been in there for a while. Obviously, it's version 2, but the original Quadrafuzz, I think, came in early Cubase. I mean, it could be like Cubase 5 or something like that. It's a long time ago. But this is a really serious upgrade, and I don't think there's any more plugin. I don't think there's many plugins out there that do that, like across the 2020 spectrum, and you can turn off and on and customize, and have 8 scenes within the plugin, as well as having like 5 emulations within the plugin, and then within the emulations, there's also modes. Wow, really powerful. So there you go, Quadrafuzz 2. I could talk about it all day. I love this plugin.